Should we be worried about TikTok? It's already been taken down in India and the United States is threatening to do the same. But in Australia, our government says they don't think a ban is necessary. So why is Australia okay with TikTok but the US and India aren't? In case you've been living under a rock, TikTok's a social media platform with billions of downloads.
Let's go, boss.
It's known for vids of dancing, lip syncing and comedy skits.
Are you okay?
Anyone can be famous on TikTok. You can be anything.
It's intuitive, it's fun, it's addictive.
Fills out the gap for a platform where it's just pure organic viral videos.
It's also known for doing a pretty great job at figuring out the exact kind of content its users want to see.
Hey, that's my news!
The algorithm makes it easy for you to kind of get amongst the community.
Everyone's For You page is different, and I like that I can get what I want to see.
Jefo, the Chainz family and TARABELLEROSE are some of Australia's biggest TikTokers, racking up millions of followers and views. And the reality of a TikTok ban has some of them worried.
Our whole following that we've built in the last 2 years will essentially disappear.
America's the powerhouse of all social media, so if an app's going to go down in the US, it'll go down everywhere.
If TikTok is mostly just short videos of people singing and dancing, why are some governments so set on banning it? TikTok is owned by a Chinese tech company called ByteDance. As you may already know, China's not exactly everyone's best friend at the moment. There are a number of reasons for this, from trade disputes to allegations of spying and cybercrime, border clashes, and even what's been happening in Hong Kong. But TikTok is owned by a Chinese company, not the Chinese government. So why does any of this even matter? I asked Paul Haskell-Dowland, a cybersecurity expert who's done a lot of research into the subject.
Now, in most countries, any organisation that holds data can be asked by most governments, including our own, to provide that data.
US President Donald Trump says he's worried that if TikTok is forced to hand over user data to the Chinese government, it could threaten the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. He's given ByteDance 90 days to sell the US operations of TikTok to an American company or face being shut down.
How you like that?
You might be thinking, why do we even care about user data on TikTok if so many people are just using the app to lip sync and dance around?
Simply having some embarrassing videos is not necessarily much of a problem. And we have to think about what else is in those videos.
When you sign up to the app, you give it information like your name, age, and location. But through the content that you create, you might actually be giving away information on who you spend time with, where you go to school or work, and what you like and dislike.
So there's just that concern that data could be pieced together across these different users. And of course, your video might feature other people. So we start to create a network of people whose data overlaps.
There are also worries it could be used for facial recognition technology.
We have large databases of photos or videos of people moving around, dancing, possibly singing.
Paul says this data could be used by Chinese intelligence agencies to track down and identify people.
If you're participating in a protest march and your image is captured perhaps through the news, and the government then captures that image and wants to compare it against a large database, and they know that you're a young person, then there's a fairly good chance that your photo is in the TikTok database. So it is very much down to the Chinese ownership, and it's fundamentally about trust. There is a concern by the US government that this data could be misused. And again, we don't really know that that has either happened or indeed that it will happen, but we simply know that it could.
So what does TikTok have to say about all of this?
Keeping our users' data and their privacy safe is at the forefront of everything we do. It's the biggest priority we have. We've just brought on one of the world's foremost experts in internet security, who comes from a background of the Department of Defense in the US.
It's accused some governments of turning TikTok into a political football, as a way of getting back at the Chinese government. For example, India's ban of the app, along with a bunch of other Chinese apps, came after a clash between Indian and Chinese soldiers in a disputed area of the Himalayas.
The main reason that's been provided by the Indian government is in relation to the specific concerns over national security. But with all of these situations, there are multiple problems and multiple issues. And whilst publicly we may be told that they relate to national security, there are usually other layers at play, and they will include the political situations and may relate to military actions, as we've seen between India and China on the border.
Now, the US operations of TikTok have launched legal action against the American government. It says it's tried to engage with the government there for nearly a year and made efforts to prove that it's serious about keeping users' data safe. But TikTok says the US government isn't paying attention to the facts. Here in Australia, there was recently a parliamentary investigation into TikTok. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said that at this stage, they didn't find anything to suggest TikTok posed a security threat to Australia, and that it wouldn't be banned here.
Catherine.
When the government came through and said that, that's just the start of this conversation we have with them. We're always trying to tell them all of the things we're doing to try and keep our users safe, as well as learn from them about all of the things that are happening around new privacy regulations and ways that we can keep getting better as well.
TikTok says it would never share user data with the Chinese government.
We have never been asked by the Chinese government to share data, and we never will, and it's something we've been saying for some time now. From an Australian user's point of view, we have our data held in the US as well as Singapore, and we make sure that we have the best-in-class tools, people and processes to keep that data safe.
But Paul says it's not that simple.
The idea that it is safe because it is outside of China is also almost laughable. The data is held on the internet and it is accessible from anywhere in the world. And certainly ByteDance do have access to that data. It's how they function as an organisation. And so we can be assured that they could access the data if they felt the need to or were compelled to do so.
So what happens next? There are a number of US companies that are considering taking over TikTok's US, Canadian, UK, Australian and New Zealand operations, which would mean the app would no longer have to worry about President Trump's ban. In the meantime, other apps are already trying to replace TikTok. Instagram's introduced a video sharing feature called Reels, and President Trump's joined American-based Triller.
I'm a professional in technology.
No matter what happens with TikTok, Paul says it's a good reminder to be careful with the information you post online.
So the idea of protecting your own personal data applies regardless of where that data is stored. We should always be thinking carefully about what we post and who potentially could have access to it. But we also have to continue with our lives. And social media is fundamentally integrated into our lives these days. So we have to recognise that we don't have control over everything. And if we are concerned, perhaps decide whether we want to continue with that app or whether we want to just restrict how we use it.
Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And while you're at it, check out the ABC Education website. They have heaps of great resources for students, teachers, and parents.